What is up, everybody? It has been a minute. I have not recorded something in a while, so feels good to be back recording again. And in case you can't tell by the title, I have another review, along with finally some more hip hop music related content. I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which was dropped a while ago by now, but you know how I am with being slow on these types of things. So I'm just going to go through every track, then give my overall thoughts on the album, and we're just going to roll with it. I'm still having issues with my editing software, so I'm going to do some janky ass shit for my end card, and that's really it. I don't plan to edit much in this video, so we shouldn't have any problems anywhere else. I will let you know I have lots of other things planned. Those videos that I've been talking about being edited, obviously since I'm still having issues with my editing software, have not been edited yet, but are in the works, which it's annoying. I've been having this type of issue since December, so I have things that were recorded all the way back 6 months ago that still cannot be released. I have things that were recorded even before then, but it's whatever. Those will come out eventually. I'm also working on making a video about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The new trailer came out, so I was going to give my thoughts on that, maybe some rumors, speculation, leaks, stuff like that. I might be covering some of it on the One Shot podcast in the next episode too, so we'll see how that goes. Just look forward to some stuff relating to that. But for now, we're here for Kendrick, Kung Fu Kenny, K. Dot, and we've waited 1,855 days for this album to come out, and as he says in the intro to the album, he's been going through something. So let's get into it, I guess. So we'll start with obviously the first half of the album, which is the Big Steppers, with United in Grief. United in Grief is an incredible song. Lots of really good beat switches. The lyrics are very meaningful, but that's what you expect with Kendrick. And the flows, which is something very important to me when it comes to like how good a song is for listening to it. United in Grief just comes out just slapping. It's actually my favorite track on the whole entire album. Not by a lot, but I really, really like United in Grief. So United in Grief, I'm individually giving a 10 out of 10. You're going to be hearing that for most of these songs, because the next song is N95, which is what I've been seeing as the most popular song on the album. It is the closest to a hype song. I know a lot of people like when Kendrick drops hype songs, but that's not what this album was about, and I can appreciate that. But N95, again, lyrics, Kendrick, beat, Kendrick, but the hook was really good. He goes, "Ugh, you ugly as fuck." It's it's really good. I'll probably give N95 a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10. It's a really good song, and I don't know. I just really like N95. Quick thing since I was talking about the beats and the production for N95, I wanted to mention this album has, in my opinion, probably my favorite production overall out of any Kendrick album. Because a lot of songs have just crazy good beats. I know there are like standout songs that are like, oh, this has a better beat than anything on it, but not the whole entirety of Good Kid, Mad City. You know what I'm saying? Because like you have All Right from To Pimp a Butterfly, which is an incredible beat. You have Humble from Damn, but I think overall this album takes the cake for Kendrick beats. And not speaking of that, because this song probably had one of the most underwhelming beats. I don't want to say it negatively, because it wouldn't have fit the song if it did have one. We have Worldwide Steppers, which is the first time we hear Kodak Black's voice in this album, and certainly not the last. He does a little bit of an introduction to the song, just like speaking, and then the song starts, and it's very heavy, very serious. Overall, I do like this song a lot, but it's definitely lower on my list. I'd give this song still a solid like 7 out of 10, 7.5 probably. I really like Worldwide Steppers. I like pretty much every song on this album. Next up, we have Die Hard. Die Hard has a really calm beat to it, and I think it's actually the first big feature we get to, with Blast and Amanda Reifer. Amanda Reifer's hook was a little bit auto-tuney for me. I don't know if it really fit with the vibe of the rest of the hook that's done by Blast, but I really, really like the hook that Blast does on Die Hard. I don't know, man. It's just a really something about Die Hard. It's not as like impressively storytelling as all of the other ones, but it's just makes me feel it feels right, you know? It just feels good. It's like a good song just to listen to. So I've been playing that song a lot since this album came out. And Kendrick's verses, of course, incredibly good, and the transitions back into Blast are really good. I think my favorite part of the song is probably the hook, though. I know it's a hot take. I watched Fantano's review of this album, and he said he wasn't a huge fan of it, but I am gonna disagree with him on that. And Die Hard, I'm gonna give Die Hard a 9 out of 10. Father Time. Now, this is another thing that I'm gonna have to disagree with the internet's busiest music nerd on. I'm not a fan of Sampha's hook on it, but that does not ruin anything for me. I don't know what it is about the hook that bothers me. I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. But the beat, oh my god, the piano on this song goes so well with literally everything. And it's a very deep song. He's talking about his what's it called? He's talking about his upbringing and how his father was like basically teaching what we now know as the concept of toxic masculinity. Hide your feelings, don't act like a bitch when you get hurt, stuff like that. And it's really deep, and it probably hits home for a lot of people because that is how a lot of people are raised. So I'm big fan of Father Time. This song's another 10 out of 10 for me for sure. I love Father Time. Incredible song. Then we have the Rich Interlude. This one is almost a poem, not necessarily rap, spoken word in a rhythm by Kodak Black entirely. Kodak Black is only in this song. Kendrick only has a couple of ad-libs towards the end. And honestly, I really like it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool at first, but I'm not gonna like listen to it. But then I listened to it and I was like, I'm gonna listen to it. It has some kind of annoying piano in the background. It sounds nice, but it's overwhelming because it keeps getting louder and you can almost not tell what Kodak's saying. And it's not because of the reasons you would think. It is not because he's mumbling. It's just because the piano is really freaking loud. But it's good. It's basically the beginning of it sums up the ideas of it pretty well. It's about how like in the rap game a lot of people, even if they're smart, are not making good decisions with everything. And it's kind of talking about how he managed to succeed from nothing. And I think it's pretty good. It's short. It's less than 2 minutes long. But I kind of like the style of it, how it's just kind of like spoken word more so than rapping. And it is followed by Rich Spirit, another really good song. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't rate the Rich Interlude. I'll give it a nice 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Solid song. Rich Spirit is another very different vibe. It has like a calmer beat. And it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's more of like he's rapping low-key. There's not as much shouting or screaming or any of the high-pitched stuff like he did in that one part in Family Ties, and he does later on in... What song is it? No, he does in N95. Not later on. He does in N95 for one verse. There's none of that. It's kind of just calmer. And it's talking about, like, how you can be... Despite having, like, no money, you could still be rich in spirit, hence the name. And it's a good meaning. It's how like life can still be vivid and good without having material things, and I kind of like the concept of it. And that is followed by a very popular track on this album, We Cry Together. This is Kendrick and Taylor Page, who I believe is an actress, not an artist. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. And it's basically an argument between two people of a couple played by Kendrick and Taylor Page turned into a rap song, and I think it's very artistically done, and I don't know, something about it's just so good. The production goes really well with it, like when they're screaming at each other, they're going, fuck you, bitch, and that's actually the hook for it. It's just them screaming fuck you at each other. And when they do that, when the beat gets like more intense and it makes it sound like they're getting more aggressive, and I think it just rolls with it really well. And then one thing turns to another, and then the ending of it happens. I won't specify what happens, but you can listen to it. It's not that long. It's only like a 6-minute long song but it's kind of talking about the just general toxicity in relationships, and I think it represents a toxic relationship very well. And then track 9, this is the final track of the Big Steppers, is Purple Hearts featuring somebody. Let's see, hold on. I got this. Purple Hearts featuring Summer Walker and Ghostface Killah. I didn't know what the girl's name was. Now, this, I don't know how hot this take is, but I didn't really like this song that much. This is my least favorite song on all of it. Have I been not rating them? I'm so bad at this whole YouTube thing. Rich Spirit. Gotta go back 2 songs. I'm really bad at this. Rich Spirit, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. 9 out of 10. And We Cry Together, I'll give a 10 out of 10. Purple Hearts. Back to what I was saying. I think Kendrick's verse is kind of weak. The hook's kind of weak. The yeah, baby, despite being funny, I don't think it sounds very nice when you're trying to listen to the song. I don't really like Summer Walker's verse either. And if those 2 verses were shorter and Ghostface Killah's verse were longer, I would actually like it a lot, because Ghostface Killah's verse is really good. And I like the symbolism of this love song coming after We Cry Together, of all things. But it's kind of like Purple Hearts, because for those of you that don't know, a Purple Heart is something given in the American military to somebody who gets injured in the line of duty. So it's kind of like representing people who have like figuratively developed like battle scars from love, I guess you could say. And I think it's symbolic how that comes after We Cry Together. And overall, I'm just listening to the song, I really wasn't feeling it, and then Ghostface Killah came on, and I was like, okay, well, that sucks, because that's a good verse on a very long bout of not very good song. Just for listening purposes. Obviously, lyrics-wise, except for when Summer Walker said it's not real love unless you eat my ass. No, shut up. That's gross. But I'm gonna give this like a 6 out of 10, maybe even a 5.5. I wasn't feeling it that much, but because of the meaning, I'll be generous, maybe like a 6.5 out of 10. It was a decent song. It was okay, but I personally think it was probably my least favorite out of the album. And that concludes the Big Steppers, and we start off with Mr. Morale with Count Me Out, which has a similar beginning with the singing. I don't know who does that, because it's not on the streaming services. It doesn't say who does the singing at the beginning of United in Grief and Count Me Out, and I believe it's also at the end of Mother I Sober, but I'm unsure. Anyway, Count Me Out has like a interesting like guitar acoustic-ish beat to it, and Kendrick's more like singing on it for most of it. And there's also this like, I don't know who does this part either, but there's occasionally at certain parts in the song some woman singing in the background, and I think that just kind of meshes together with the beat very well and with the flow. And I actually like this song a lot, especially when he goes for the first time, he goes, fuck it up, fuck it up, fuck it up, fuck it up, fucking it up, and then the beat drops. That part is, it's just like, it gets me pretty hyped. It gets me pretty hyped when I hear it. And Count Me Out's kind of like him talking about how like he likes when, in a way, like when he's underappreciated, because he knows that he's better than what haters think of him, in a way. And honestly, I'll be honest, I like this song a lot more for just how good it is to listen to than the meaning of it. But the meaning of it's still there, but it's less so than a lot of the other songs. But overall, just because of how much fun listening to this song is, I'm going to give it another 9 out of 10. That's followed by Crown. Crown, the whole purpose of the song is told to you basically in the hook, where he just says repeatedly, I can't please everybody, because he learned that he can't please everybody. That's one thing that he's learned. Along with love can change with the seasons. That is also what he says. And he kind of just goes on for a little while about how he's learned these things, why he's learned these things, and kind of how it affects how he can perceive his career almost. And overall, it's definitely one of the lower down, not necessarily because it's bad, but because everything else is so good. So this song's still solid, and I'll probably still give it a 7 out of 10. I think that's fair. And that is followed by another big hit, in my opinion, Silent Hill, featuring Kodak Black. When I saw how much Kodak Black was showing up on this album, I was very confused, but I trusted that it would work well. So we got Silent Hill, really good beat. Probably my second favorite, maybe third, because Father Time's really high up there, on the whole album. And it really fit how Kodak went with it. Kodak took the flow of the hook where he goes, "Push these bitches on me, that huh," and he just rolled with it for like, I think that was his first flow of his verse, and he changed it up a couple of times, and Kodak managed to actually kill it on this song, and I was very impressed, and I like it a lot. And obviously Kendrick did his thing. He's Kendrick Lamar. This song, in my opinion, is another 10 out of 10. It's kind of less specific and less focused on like deeper meaning than a lot of the other songs, but it still is. I mean, it's really fun to listen to, which is probably the most important part, in my opinion, to a song. I love when it has good meaning and I can appreciate it, but if it can do that and be a banger, then like, come on, like, all right, he's done it before. Mad City, he's done it before. Yeah, Silent Hill's another 10 out of 10. This is, next up, another one of my favorite tracks on the album, Savior Interlude, which is sung entirely by Baby Keem. I'm a huge Baby Keem fan, so I was happy when I saw that he was on the album, and then when I listened to this, because the interludes are actually labeled as just being by Kendrick Lamar, and not by Kodak Black and Baby Keem, respectively, I was so excited, because oh my god, it was so good throughout the whole thing. It's just talking about, like, generally the struggle of living broke and having family that's broke and desperate. Like he says, your uncle ever stole from you day after Christmas, and it's pretty deep in meaning, and I really like it. It's talking about how he gets up from this situation and he succeeds. Very similar to the Rich interlude, actually, but from Keem's perspective instead of Kodak's. And I think it's done, honestly, even better than the Rich interlude. I'm giving the Savior interlude another 10 out of 10. I like it a lot. Also, Keem being Keem had to throw in a couple of funny bars, like when he said, "My ex got a Beamer, she want me to see it, I still ain't gonna see it." Like, okay. And Savior interlude is followed by Savior, which is featuring Baby Keem again, and Sam Do, I believe, is the other one. Yes, Sam Do. And so Kendrick comes in, says, "Like it when they pro-black, but I'm more Kodak Black," which is the penultimate time, not the final time, the second to last time Kodak Black is mentioned in this album. And that's how the intro goes in, just him kind of I don't necessarily know how to describe it. It happens a decent amount on this album where he goes for like a couple of bars on like an introduction beat. It happens on Father Time too, and then it cuts into the regular beat. Savior has, in my opinion, probably the best beat on the album, and it is potentially my favorite beat of a Kendrick song. It's up there with the All Rights, the Eyes, and the Humbles, and the DNAs. It's up there. I really like the production on Savior, and unfortunately, Keem only had a hook. He did not have a verse. He did the hook. He did it very well, though. It was very simple, but it worked, and the beat just fit it perfectly. And then Sam Do's kind of just in the background the whole time, and he adds a lot to Kendrick's second verse with, I don't necessarily know how to describe it. It's almost like chanting-ish in the background, and it really just goes with what Kendrick's saying, talking about, like, problems with the world, and the overarching idea of Savior is that an artist, in particular for the song, obviously, Kendrick, can make good music, impactful music, send out good messages, but he can't save the world. He's incapable of it, and he's basically destroying the idea of a savior complex for him, where he is not the savior of the world. He's just a rapper that makes intellectual, philosophical music, and it's pretty good. And that's followed by another pretty deep song, Auntie Diaries, which is him telling the story of his auntie and later on, I believe, his cousin, who decided to get sex change operations at some point in their life. So they're both trans people, and he said, so this is something that it kind of helps with the message because it's about him learning to accept these kinds of things, but he's like, in a sense, misgendering the whole time, like saying my auntie is a man now, because if your auntie is a man, he's your uncle, and going back and forth between referring to him as she and he, and does the same thing with when he's talking about, I believe, I'm not sure if it was his cousin, but I'll just say that for now, where he says Demetrius is Marianne now. I mean, he's really Marianne. You would say she. So that could be something that could get some people upset on a certain social media app in particular. But overall, that part of it is kind of like it's kind of like showing the message of the fact that Kendrick had to learn about how these things are normal and acceptable in life, and he had to learn to accept them, and he learned that the meaning of the F slur is very similar to that case in one of his tours where he had a white girl come up on stage and she sang with him, and she sang the N-word with him, and he kicked her off. So he learned in that situation specifically that it's very similar, and the end of the song, the very end of the song, is very telling of that. He says the F slur 3 times, and he says, we can say it together, but only if you let a white girl say the N-word. And it's kind of just him learning not only to accept, but also to not be discriminatory in a way by using that word. And I think it's a very, what's it called? It's a very low-key song throughout most of it, and it picks up a lot towards the very, very end of it. And overall, just because of the message, I think it's a great song. I'll give it like an 8 or a 9. And again, I skipped one, so Savior. Not sure if I said it, but Savior's another 10, in case you couldn't tell by me praising it so much. I'm really bad at this whole thing. I'll recap my ratings for all of them, and if they change, shut up. The next song is Mr. Morale, which is Mr. Morale. This is featuring Tana Leone. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. He kills his parts on the hook. Stepping out when the weight lifts, floating on him. But yeah, he kills that, and then at the end he has a couple of bars that he says before it carries out to the end, and it's just, oh my god, it's a very good song to listen to, like a lot of these other ones. So for that sole reason, I would give it a 10 out of 10. But also it has another good deeper meaning. It's kind of like Kendrick talking about how his mind is filled with so much and it's heavy. He says that a lot too, and kind of like his contemplation of a lot of things, I would say. At least this is my interpretation of it. That's kind of the purpose of music and art. It's to be interpreted by the listener. So that's kind of how I feel it's explaining, and I think it does a really good job of that. And again, 10 out of 10 song. I really like Mr. Morale. The next one is a little bit somberer, if you will. It's Mother I Sober with Beth Gibson, I believe her name is. And she does like a really emotional hook. She just says, I wish I was somebody, anybody but myself, but very like voice cracky, teary sounding. And it's kind of just talking about how generally bad life can be at times, and it was for Kendrick. It goes on for a long time. It's actually the longest track on the album, 6 minutes and 47 seconds. I'll give this song, again, it's not as much of like replay value, I would say, but I'd still say it's overall a pretty good song. The beat the whole time is just like some calm piano. I'll give this song a solid 7 out of 10 though. And finally, this is a song that I like a lot more than a lot of people. Mirror, the outro for the whole album. Ooh, I really like this song. It gives me some kind of like 80s vaporwave type of beat. The beat first of all, sounds like that, and the type of, like, auto-tune effects that Kendrick puts on his voice for certain parts of it. I think all but one verse, I want to say, but I'm not confident. It just matches with the beat really well. It matches with the vibe. It's a very calm song. And this is kind of leapfrogging off similar ideas of Savior, how a single person can be impactful to people and make meaningful things, but can't save the world. It's kind of like a big idea of it, and it's kind of him talking about how he's choosing his own well-being and his family's over trying to be this savior that people think he is. And he even has a line in it. He goes, how does it go? He says, "Sorry I didn't save the world, my friend. I was too busy building mine again." So he's saying that he couldn't save the world because he has his own world to save and work with, and it's too much for one person to do. And I really like the message of it, and I also just think it's a really fun song to listen to. It's a pretty different vibe from a lot of other ones. There are a couple of nice, calm songs, but Mirror does it better than basically all of the other ones. Maybe Silent Hill does it really well too. Rich Spirit does it decently, but Mirror is another 10 out of 10. So if you want to recap, United in Grief is a 10 out of 10. N95, I'll switch to a 10 out of 10. I said 9 out of 10. Worldwide Steppers is a 7. Die Hard is a 9. Maybe N95 is still a 9. N95 is a 9. Die Hard is a 9. Father Time is a 10. Rich Interlude is an 8. Rich Spirit is an 8. We Cry Together is a 10. Purple Hearts is a 6.5. Count Me Out is a solid 8. Yeah, 8.5. Crown is a 7. Silent Hill is a 10. Savior Interlude is a 10. Savior's a 10. Auntie Diaries is an 8. Mr. Morale is a 10. Mother I Sober is a 8. And Mirror is another 10. Overall album, 10 out of 10. One of my favorite albums, best thing to be dropped in a while. I'd say the only things in the past year that compete with it are The Melodic Blue by his cousin Keem and The Off-Season by J. Cole. I think those are both incredible albums. I also gave those 10 out of 10s. I do believe I reviewed The Melodic Blue in a Quick Thoughts before, I think. But yeah, I'm giving this album a 10 out of 10. It's just so good. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. If you haven't listened to it, do. You will not regret it. It is an incredible album. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be trying to make stuff more consistently once more, but it's going to take a little while for me to get back into the groove. Got to get the editing software thing all figured out. And yeah, I might be hopping on Twitch a little bit. I'll probably be recording another one-shot episode with MJ pretty soon. We got some nice fun shit set up for it, so that's going to be fun. We just got to come up with a few more ideas. We're working on that right now. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video, and I'm going to use my phone to play the audio for my end card because my editing software is broken. No, I do not actually have the end card. Click a video.